Hello, citizens, Vikings, Tingmen, and Shield Maidens. I'm Erik the Cat McKetten, your friendly bearded space Viking, and this is a resource management and ship piloting tutorial on the early access game Hellion by Zero Gravity Games. If you watched my previous videos, you already know the basics of flying your ship in RCS mode. RCS mode is the slowest of the flight modes. Next up is main engines, which are currently buggy, and while they technically can be used, it is highly recommended you do not attempt it. And finally, the FTL or faster than light drive. First of all, if you recall, we depleted our jetpack when we were docking our airlock, so we need to use our resource management skills to fill it back up. To recharge the power, you simply need the ship or station you are on to have a functioning power generator and capacitor, and then plug the jetpack into a recharging station. Remove it by opening the inventory with Tab and then dragging to the center, your hands. Then place it on the charging station. It can take a while to charge depending on how depleted it is. Once it is charged up, indicated by the display on the back of the jetpack, remove it and then place it on the cargo interaction panel to reload the oxygen and propellant. When you first click on the panel, you should see a screen that shows raw materials, probably empty, and one that shows cargo, also probably empty. Click to slot 1 to get your jetpack. Refined Materials tab may have nitro, as well as oxygen. Clicking and dragging is how you load up the jetpack in any other systems. Notice I dragged the oxygen from refined to the air supply. That's how you refill your air supply both here and on the ship. Propellant can be both nitro or nitrogen. The jetpacks start out with nitro. If you don't have any left to put in the pack, you need to remove the remaining nitro and then put nitrogen in. Nitrogen is also the primary propellant in your spaceship RCS system. Note, if moving these items is not working, first try Alt-tabbing out of the game and then clicking back in. If that doesn't work, you need to log out and log back in. This is a known bug caused by the user interface. This workaround also applies to just about any other scenario where it seems like the user interface is no longer responding. It's something I forgot to add in the previous videos. When in your EVA suit, pressing the V key will turn on the flashlight if the suit has one. Not all of them do have one. Now, I'm not going to show you everything about starting up your ship. You learned the basics of what needs to be done in the first video. The same rules apply here. Just explore around and you'll figure it out. The only thing I will say is you need to make sure your warp cells are as close to 100% as possible and that your power generator is online and your capacitor is full. Okay, so we have our ship prepped. We walk up to the pilot seat and press F to sit in it. Then we turn on FTL by zooming in on the FTL icon and pressing F. It takes a bit for the FTL drive to power up. In the meantime, the basics of RCS flying are the same as EVA or docking. You use T plus middle mouse to select a target, Shift to stabilize rotation, WASD and Q and E for basic controls. But there is an added speed indicator. The one below your crosshair is your longitudinal or forward-backward relative velocity. This means it is the difference between the speed of the target and your speed. Positive means your nose is getting closer. Negative means your nose is moving away. The speed indicator on the right side is the relative velocity of your translation, vertical and horizontal strafe. This is aided by an arrow and line that appears around the crosshair. The direction the arrow is going is the direction you are moving in relation to the target. The goal is to get this as close to 0 as possible so you are flying directly at the target. You do this by counteracting the arrow. If it is pointing left, you strafe right, up, down, etc. Again, use small bursts and pay attention to the numbers as they change. Ignore the match velocity notice if it pops up. It is currently not functional. Once you get close to your target, your goal is to try to reduce relative velocity to 0 on all axes. The difficulty of this is determined by direction of travel of you and the target, as well as speed. Sometimes it is really easy and sometimes it is really hard. Patience and practice. But you want to know how to FTL, don't you? Press Tab to get out of the piloting screen. And look down and select Nav. This brings up the nav map. Double-click on the triangle to zoom into your ship. From here, you can plot your jump. Plotting a jump is simple. You right-click on a point and either choose Custom Orbit or Warp, and then you need to select your warp cells to make sure you have power. Once this is done, right-click on the numbers at the bottom right to adjust them as needed to get an FTL solution. If the bottom center says acceleration too high, you need to reduce the arrival time. If it says too low, increase it. Once it says FTL drive ready, click Initialize. Now you have a countdown until activation time. You need to use this to orient your ship so it is facing the jump direction. There will be a small red diamond with an M in the center. Gently turn your ship towards that until it becomes a large white diamond. Then point the ship at the diamond and it should turn green. You are now lined up. But that isn't all. When the countdown reaches 5 seconds, you have to click the left mouse button to initiate the jump. Then, if everything goes well, you will arrive at your destination a short while later. These are just the basics. There is much more to FTL than this, but hopefully this will get you to the point that you can figure out the rest on your own. And until next time, have fun flying and keep practicing.